Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Goodbye Bullshit, Hello Happiness. Today I have a special guest with me, Lana. She is a beautiful soul. She's a healer, and she is all about empowering women everywhere. Lana, welcome. I'm going to ask you my favorite question. So, what bullshit did you say goodbye to say hello to the happiness you have now and do the work that you're doing?
I love the question. And thank you so much for inviting me, Alyssa. I'm so happy to be here and have this conversation with you. Well, the most meaningful thing that is very important for me right now, and I'm like super aware of it, is that I used to believe that in order to succeed and in order to thrive in our modern society, I have to be my masculine, right? I need to show up like a man. And in this case, I will be respected and I will be taken seriously, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, I believe that, I really wanted to be an artist. Art is very important for me. This is who I am deep inside of me. But I didn't believe that if I do art and be my feminine, I can succeed, right? The whole archetype of starving artist,
Yep.
even though like now is my art is intimacy and healing in intimate art, and I am in my feminine. It took me a long time to arrive to that point and believe that this is my path and this is my genius and I can succeed with that and can thrive.
Um, it's very important what you're saying, and I want to bring it out a little bit more. Is that I do this work with clients, as I'm sure you do as well, especially I see it even in male clients that there's an imbalance between the male and the female. Both energies exist in all of us. We all have that male and feminine in us. And it's just like you said, throughout our life, which one did we feed more? And for a lot of women, because they don't feel they have, depending on how they grew up, where they grew up, even in the Western cultures, there is, you do there feel like you have to be a male to be able to do well in your business, especially if you have a typical job that is typically male job. I know for myself when I was an engineer, that was one of the biggest thing. I had to be a male in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but also for the male clients that I see as well, that there's an imbalance, and each of us, when we balance both energies, we can do so much more, and we are so much more powerful. And I want to know, what are your thoughts about even the male? Because when you talk about the female energy, everybody just immediately goes that you have to be a female, you have to be a woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is so important also. So I believe the whole universe is about these two existential polarities, feminine and masculine energy, and it's kind of a reflection of like electromagnetism, right? How the
Mm-hmm.
whole universe is created and how everything works. It's based on polarities, right? And it's like relationship between these polarities and the balance between them and the collaboration, that what creates life, right, itself and the whole universe basically. So I do believe, of course, we, no matter what gender we represent in this lifetime, we have both energies, and it's about the unique combination of these energies that you know we need to find to discover who we are and how we want to show up. Absolutely, I believe it's just been for so long, for thousands of years, like the masculine energy was dominant, and that created this unbalanced society, right? That's why we have so much violence.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have so much greed. It's like destroying the planet. Is because on a bigger scale, the collective field is unbalanced. So what we want to do to bring that feminine energy back and the feminine qualities and allow the feminine to co-lead, right, and co-create with masculine in this world. It's a collaboration. And of course, men who are connected to their feminine, which is like emotions and the heart and creativity, these are just feminine qualities. It doesn't mean that men can't have them. They absolutely can. And it's beautiful. It's like the genius, accessing your genius, accessing your intuition. Uh, so yes, men often feel even more oppressed in that energy if they show up in that
Yes.
energy. They feel like they will not be seen as strong men, they will be judged. So they're actually hiding and oppressing that side of themselves. So that is also very important to acknowledge. So we're not trying to create any kind of competition here who is better.
Yes.
It's like we need both, to create life and create balance.
That's beautiful. I like what you're saying, that you need both to create life. That's a very important point that I think it gets missed. And part of that bringing balance is that the masculine energy that is in all of us, it is sort of the warrior in us. It is the one that stands up and is the fighter in us, and the female side is more, to me, is the, like you said, creative, but it's part of that, more of that compassion and love and those emotions that you were talking about, and bringing both together in harmony. It what's create life. It's what's moving this life forward in an environment that um, we are more accepting and loving and kinder, not to ourselves, but everything around us. Can you tell us a little bit about, for you, what does it mean to balance? How do you work on balancing that within yourself, both energies?
Hmm. Yes. So at the beginning, I've always been an entrepreneur, and my first business was connected to relationship. I was actually working with relationships, cross-cultural couples, helping them, getting to know each other and, really create foundation for trust and love and like deep, serious relationship. Basically, the many clients of mine got married and got babies and families. And then at some point I switched to construction, industry, and was like really like masculine
Mm-hmm.
by nature. And I was very successful. And at that time, I just didn't believe probably that can grow to the next level in my previous business. I just didn't know how. And there were not many role models for me to understand how to move with that. So it's more like, yeah, I could observe how men succeed faster and they're more respected in business. Like, so if you like hold yourself like a man, then you can succeed more, right? I did use like, because I'm from Ukraine originally, my culture is very different, so we do have different feminine energy in our collective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's more, I feel it's more balanced. At the same time, there are lots of blind spots as well. Like I can be like flirty and like look beautiful, and at that time I believe that was like being in my feminine.
Mm-hmm.
So only after this long journey of self-discovery and doing this deep work in expanded states of consciousness, like I started to receive the downloads about like the collective, our history of who we are as human beings, seeing what been happening with women, with our ancestors, like something that we inherit through our DNA, right? This memory, we still hold it. It really opened up for me, and I realized like, wow, we've barely scratched the surface of feminine power and we have forgotten what it is. So I've done a lot of work on this, and I do believe number one feminine superpower is actually receiving, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
receiving states of consciousness. And intuition is also part of our receiving superpower, because we open ourselves up, like we kind of clear our minds, we let go of control, and we receive guidance, right? Intuitive guidance, whatever you call it, from the spirit, from the universe, your soul. So it is a lot of about receiving. And then when we talk about like relationship with men, between women and men, like in this physical form. We also, beforehand, we're receivers, right? Because, like, if you think about it, when we create life, we receive sperm from men, and then we give back. We double and quadruple everything we receive. Like, we give back a baby, right? The
Mm-hmm.
baby is growing in our body, but initially we receive from a man. So that's kind of like a beautiful like pattern of the universe, like this on the universal level, that women receive from the masculine and then they give back, right? So our archetypal role is create and nurture, and masculine archetypal role is like provide and protect, right? So this is very beautiful exploration for me. Like, I kind of developed my own language about it, because I always see like everything through the universal patterns, how things work in the universe. What are the universal laws, right?
Mm-hmm.
How it applies to us and how it applies to our individual situation and our, personal relationships. So, like, everything is so interconnected. So this is how I see it. So, like, yes, doing my work about this piece was very important, because I was kind of like, in the relationship, I felt I also need to dominate to be respected, right? So that was really hard for me to be in a relationship with a man who, who is in his empowered masculine, because I was always thinking that I need to be dominant, right? My mom was dominant in the family. She was an entrepreneur, and like, I thought I need to be the boss.
Mm-hmm.
So that has had to go, because this is not how it works. It's just like we just have different gifts and different powers, right? And it's completely different qualities. We can co-create. Nobody needs to dominate. We don't need competition.
Um, Again, really key points here that you're mentioning in the relationship, especially because because of those imbalances that we're talking about. You're absolutely right. People, even in whether it's a marriage, it's partnership, whatever, they are in a competition, but also it's like it is passed down from parents, their parents, and also the society that we live in, with the rule book of what a relationship is supposed to be. And it almost feels like we have this scale that in the relationship people try to say, okay, if I'm doing this, you must be doing this, and they try to balance it that way. Whereas we take that balance internally and we balance ourselves first, and we can give and receive in unison with the partner that we have in our life. And what a beautiful gift it is to be able to do that in a relationship as well. So thank you for that. Any other relationship, since you have a different kind of background, you started in relationships, and now in a different way, you're also working for people to have better relationships in our lives. Any advice, any guidance you can give the audience?
Yeah. I like to say, question the obvious to discover the miraculous. This really works for me in exploring intimacy and relationships between feminine and masculine, because we have so many blind spots, because we're born into the system and we take it for granted. We don't question the most like basic stuff, but this is where people get stuck, because they they think they're doing the right thing. They think they're following what they should do in a relationship, right? Following that universal formula, like getting married. Like, they don't question what exactly marriage is. How can they customize this relationship container and relationship model to who they are and how they want to relate to each other? So there is no right and wrong until both people, to happy together, right? So there is no need to follow the shoot, and it's so deeply ingrained in us. And we're kind of stepping out a lot out of the box, where women had very traditional role of being a wife and a mother only, right? we are
Mm-hmm.
we past that point, right? At the same time, when we talk about the dynamics in relationship and how we behave, what we think good relationship is about. We have so much conditioning still, and it took me a lot of time, to investigate and like work on myself, on my own relationship, and work with women and couples, and now I also work with men, and like really understand where does it come from. And I see it, we can go all the way back to like thousands of years when the container of marriage was created. And women, we have to be like honest with this, women have been oppressed for thousands of years, right? Women didn't have rights, it was not even safe for a woman to be a single woman, not to be married, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of a survival container for women and for men too, because of the arranged marriage. It was very commercial. It was a political interest, and also it could be not safe for a woman not to have a husband. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
we still carry those imprints, even though now they are more subtle. And you can see it everywhere, like how like we're thinking. Like I was recently talking to the architects, and I was saying like all the houses that are built, at least like here in the United States, and I worked in construction before as well, and like real estate, like they have the kind of similar design. They don't. There is no creativity. Like there's master bedroom, there is the guest room, there's and many of my clients now, we talk about it, and they actually prefer to have the queen has her own bedroom and the king has his own bedroom, and then they can have space to share, or they can come and visit each other. It's like that actually creates more intimacy when you create space for yourself, right? So you can reconnect with yourself. So there's no right and wrong that you should do things that way and always be together and always share everything. So it's like, and if you go deep, there are so many of these aspects that actually create uh, this kind of boring and kind of stagnant energy between partners after they live together for a long time. So this field of attraction starts to fade away, and they might lose connection. There are walls of separation, I call them, start to grow between partners. They grow apart. But there are little adjustments that we can make when we look out of the box. I call it ascension of intimacy, actually. That's what I'm working on, the book and the documentary, to really show the depth of this, relationship paradigm, and like transitioning to a new understanding of who we are and how we can relate to each other.
Beautiful. I always on this show I said, that's why I named it Goodbye Bullshit, Hello Happiness, because I say we have to say goodbye to the shoulds, have, must, need to, and bring it back to yourself. What works for you, good or bad in terms for you as an individual. And that's in a relationship. I agree with you too. It's what does this relationship look like for me, not what the society told me it has to be, not what has been passed down from generations, not what I've observed from other people or my parents, but what is a relationship? What do I want? And also in that, give yourself room, because as we're all growing and shifting, when you give yourself that space that you're going to grow, you give your partner that space as well, so that you can grow together. And it's like every day you're meeting somebody new. There's a new person in your life that you're greeting and meeting and saying, hey, let's go on this journey together. And it is a journey. When two people come together, it's a journey that you're agreeing to. Sometimes those two paths can come together. Sometimes we're going side by side. Sometimes, maybe it's like, oh, you go this way and then I'll meet you back there.
Mm-hmm.
And giving that, I think, freedom of expression, freedom to be in, um, just that we can have be together, but still be separate at the same time, and have that space to grow. I think it's really wonderful. I like to, you mentioned your documentary. So can you tell us about that? I like the audience. I know you told me about it, but I want you to explain more to the audience as well, what you're working on.
Yeah, working on this project, documentary project. I still need a lot to do, and I've never done this kind of work, so it's very new to me. So I'm like collaborating with people, talking to people, meeting new people to bring this vision to fruition, right?
Mhm.
And it's called The Relationship of the Future, or Ascension of Intimacy, right? And it's a journey of understanding like the fundamental relationship between feminine and masculine in the universe, in our society, what happened on our planet, right? Because when we look back, for example, at ancient Egypt, like the oldest layers of art and artifacts that we can discover, right? And we can see that there was a era of the golden age when the feminine and masculine were ruling together, right? You can see it in Egyptian art when there is like a statue and the queen and the king are sitting together on the throne holding hands, and they're on the same level, so they're like ruling together, right?
Mhm.
And I actually followed and was really interested in the work of Dr. Butler, Carmen Butler. She was Egyptologist, she was a professor, she also was director of the documentary called The Pyramid Code, very interesting
Mhm.
perspective. And she was talking about that. And one episode was dedicated to the relationship between feminine and masculine. It was called The Empowered Human. And she brought it up, actually. She brought it up and she said that, you know, they have this discovery about ancient Egypt, and they start to question the old paradigm of how we see our history. And she said that, the more conservative scientific circles, also in Egypt itself, were really resistant to change the angle of perception, right? We're seeing everything through the lens of patriarchy, right? It's been
Mhm.
there for a while. And it was a very eye-opening documentary. I actually talked to her about the documentary that I want to create. And we were about to have like this um, conversation to go deeper and discuss what, my vision and all this. But unfortunately, mm, she died in February of this year. So that was unfortunate because I really wanted to go deeper with her on this one. This is a very interesting perspective. So basically, when we balance these two energies, in our society, within ourselves, in our romantic, intimate relationship, this is when we can experience, the most creative, the most peaceful, the most connective, beautiful reality. This is when we create that golden age, at all levels, when we know how to balance it, and when we honor the feminine and the masculine equally, right? And understanding that it's like another side of the coin, another side of the moon. Like we can't exist without each other, and we need to honor and adore each other versus like competing and like trying to dominate and oppress. That this is such an old paradigm that didn't bring us to good places, right? Obviously. So that's kind of the foundation of my vision, right? And then how to bring it in our personal relationship. This is the most interesting piece for people, right? Because how do I actually live it? How I can embody that, right?
Mhm.
How to navigate it. And that is, I see it as art. So for me, intimacy is art. So like in my business, healing and intimate arts. And I believe we are on the journey of helping each other heal, because we can do lots of inner work and do this healing work within ourselves. This is always the foundation. But when we meet somebody and we're in this beautiful, creative, deep relationship, loving relationship with them, they help us heal, and they're such a beautiful mirror for us, right? To see
Mhm.
ourselves and go deeper with healing, like really release all these old, you know, imprints and wounds that we accumulated over these thousands of years, basically.
Um, it is really, it's really lovely. Actually, I love what you're saying too, and that every relationship, to me, every relationship is an opportunity for us to be that mirror, for us to see ourselves. But you're right, in an intimate relationship, that even is another perspective that you don't get in the relationship, whether it's with your siblings, cousins, parents, or friends, that you get in an intimate relationship. So that is definitely a very different mirror that you get to experience, and a great opportunity to heal those wounds that have been, again, not just within us, but also passed down to us, to be able to clear and heal. And that harmony that you're talking about, that you're working on, with your documentary and the work you're doing as well, the harmony, for us to be in harmony with our partner and ourselves. It's a really beautiful way to experience and express yourself in life. And what a wonderful work you're doing. I'm so happy about all the work, but please mention the other work that you're doing as well. I know this is just a small portion. I know you do breath work. So anything else you want to tell the audience about other work that you're doing?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love working with expanded states of consciousness. And these days, people, do different like plant medicine, different journeys with different like substances that like mind altering,
Mhm.
in altered states of consciousness. I personally, my favorite is breathwork because we don't need any, external agents. We don't need like even plant medicine. There is nothing that we need to take in to shift our perception and expand our consciousness. We can do it just with our breath, right? And that
Mhm.
was such a huge discovery for me on the experiential level because the first time I tried this breath work, I had no clue how I can, you know, receive such experience through just using my breath because it was like a deep journey of self-discovery. The very first journey that I had, like 3 hour breathwork session, was holotropic breathwork created by Stanislav Grof. This is part of transpersonal psychology, and this is what I studied in that eventually. It was just mind-blowing. I was shown my soul purpose. I was shown who I was. I was shown, my soul the way beyond this lifetime that we I do believe, and not just believe, that was my personal
Mhm.
experience, that we do have many lifetimes and we come back. This is how we grow on the spiritual level. This is how we grow as a soul, like the journey of the soul itself. And I was shown that I came to this world to do something, not just like have fun and have success and have money and entertain myself, because I did have success at a very early age. And it was good for me to experience that, because then I was not really interested to just make money and like, that was, I realized like, wow, it doesn't really bring you the depth of fulfillment and like joy. And there is still something like you still want to discover something, you still want to express yourself. There is still so much potential that was not used at that time. So it opened up a new horizon for my personal growth, for my professional growth, for my spiritual growth, and my service work for the humanity. So breathwork was absolutely essential for me, and I do love work with people using this modality, holotropic breathwork. I developed my own modality called Breath of Remembrance, which I could do online. During pandemic, it was very powerful as well. And the reason I love to work in expanded states because these practices go way back to
Mhm.
thousands and thousands of years. Like for example, I discovered tantric practices and spirituality of tantra, which is spirituality through embodiment, and it was kind of forgotten in our patriarchal world because um, all these religions that became really big in our world, they were spirituality through transcendence, right? Like denying the flesh, denying the body, like sitting in the cave, meditating, escaping from the physical body, or seeing our body as a source of sin and suffering, right? So in tantra it was the opposite. Like actually the body is a sacred container for the spirit, and we come in this physical world to explore ourselves through the physical body. Otherwise, why we
Yeah.
are physical, right? We could just be spirits, incorporeal beings. So that was very important for me to discover these modalities, to work with the body, to work with the breath. And also one of the most insightful pieces that I discovered, that our brain can produce DMT. This is something that we
Mm-hmm.
found like in ayahuasca and other, plant medicine and psychedelics that become very popular these days. But our brain can produce that chemical in expanded states of consciousness, also through intimacy when we're intimate with each other. So that was a huge discovery for me, because that explains that we actually don't even need any external agents. We
Mm-hmm.
generate these mystical states, expanded states, just through these simple tools like breath, movement, sound, right? That something is given to us innately. So that is very central for me. So I do work with consciousness. I do love, spirituality is very central piece for me, because especially during this transition, right? During this turbulent times, people lose guidance, they lose direction. Something that was valuable, you can lose your wealth at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Now is the war in my country. It's like nobody could imagine that with Russia. It's like, my mom was Russian, my father is Ukrainian, so it's like all these external values, they are very fragile. But the spirituality, this is who we are, and through expanded states we could tap into these energies that are universal, like becoming one with the universe, remembering who we are, like connecting to the source. Like this is just something that nobody can take away from us.
Love it. Yes. And you're right in this. We're both actually, there's sort of, you have the war and we're on it's what, our third month into the revolution that has started in Iran. So there's a lot going on around the world. And I think the best way, like you said, that we can all shift and change the world around ourselves. We did come here to be more than these physical bodies. This is our vessel to experience life here. And I'm happy that you brought about that we don't need those external agents. I mean, I know they have their benefits for the people that can reach it
Mhm.
immediately, so it helps them get to those state of consciousness that we're talking about, and you can get there without those as well. There's
Mhm.
so many of us that we do get there, and but whichever modality, however you get there, I think the key point that we're trying to get to here is that um, bring that harmony from the inside out and to the world around you, and let's all create a beautiful world that we can all coexist and be in harmony together.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love that you mentioned Iran, because my heart was with Iran so much these days, and seeing how women stand up for themselves
Mhm.
and they start to they face this danger. Like it's like real physical danger. They can be punished, like or lose their lives. And I was like, wow, this is really happening. Like we're not taking it this anymore, and we're bringing that balance back. When women rise this way, I do feel this is also the rise of the feminine, and saying no, like showing up differently. That's the power we want, because we want the world to be led by feminine masculine leaders together, not just masculine, you know, and bringing that heart and peace and harmony and balance. Women are very sensitive to, you know, anything that is not aligned with love, that is not
Mhm.
aligned with compassion, with oneness, like we're all one. It doesn't make sense to fight each other, right? So I feel it's a very powerful movement, and I'm like 100% supporting Iranian women on this journey. And I do have many Iranian friends, and they're all amazing people, like with such depth and such wisdom, a very Asian culture. So happy that this something is shifting in a big way.
Hopefully that shift is going to happen more than just Iran, throughout the world, because there's just more countries that need that shift, and empowering not just the female, but the humans, to be able to be at peace and harmony. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to have you. I'll have Lana's information on the post, that you can reach out to her, say hi to her on Instagram, and just get in touch with her and find out about all the wonderful work that she is doing. And hopefully her documentary will be out soon, and we'll let you know when that's done. Thank you, Lana, for being here. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much, Atusa. Thank you.